Greetings, everyone. Today, we're going to explore the concept of isolation, something we all may experience at different times in our lives. I'll break it down in a simple and understandable way, sharing insights and practical approaches to help navigate and find balance in this state. I won't keep you waiting any longer, let's dive in. The great mystery of enjoying your own company. Ever had a moment of pure bliss, just chilling by yourself, only to have society look at you like you just declared you were moving to a deserted island? Yep, welcome to the modern world, where someone can socialize by double-tapping a stranger's breakfast photo on Instagram, but choosing to actually be alone is treated like an emergency situation. Picture this: you've had a long, exhausting week. Your brain is fried. All you want to do is collapse on the couch, burrito yourself in a blanket, and binge-watch Netflix in peace. But suddenly, ding, a message from a well-meaning, but slightly intrusive, friend or maybe even your mom. Why are you always home? You need to get out and meet people. Sigh. Just like that, your peace is under attack. When being alone isn't a tragic story. Let's clear something up: being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. Some people live alone, eat alone, go to the movies alone, and they're thriving. Meanwhile, others can be surrounded by people and still feel like they're starring in some existential, moody Christopher Nolan film. Many people choose to live like a lone wolf, not because they hate society, but because they genuinely enjoy the quiet. Others have simply paid their tuition in the school of life. After enough betrayals, disappointments, and meaningless conversations about gas prices, solitude starts looking very appealing. So, why do some people choose isolation? Why some people retreat like a ninja? Stop sign: because society is exhausting. Ever been at a social event where, after just 15 minutes, your battery drains to 1%? For introverts, it's not even about disliking people, it's just that hanging out with them requires the energy of a full-time job. And frankly, sometimes it's easier to stay home than to explain to a coworker why you have 8 cats. Pensive face because they've been slapped by society one too many times. Some people don't isolate themselves because they want to, they do it because they've been burned one too many times. Manipulative friends, fake relationships, backstabbing colleagues. After enough emotional bruises, living a peaceful, drama-free life sounds like a fantastic upgrade. Dove because they don't want to play the society game. Society hands out a one-size-fits-all life plan: grow up, go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, work till your back gives out, then retire, if you make it that far. But some people look at that roadmap and go, yeah, I think I'll skip the middle part. Instead of running in the social hamster wheel, they'd rather spend their time on things that actually make them happy. Artist palette because solitude fuels creativity and meaning. Some of the greatest minds in history, philosophers, artists, scientists, chose solitude to do their best work. Would Newton have discovered gravity if he wasn't stuck in isolation during the plague? Probably not. Would writers, musicians, or thinkers be as productive if they were constantly bombarded with small talk? Definitely not. Conclusion: isolation is not equal to unhappiness. Society assumes that anyone who chooses isolation must eventually fall into depression. But the truth? Some people are happiest when they're alone. Instead of forcing everyone to fit in, maybe we should accept that some people just prefer a quieter, more introspective life. So, if you see someone happily spending time alone, don't panic and start planning a rescue mission. Chances are, they're just sipping tea, reading a book, and silently thanking the universe for not having to fake interest in a boring conversation. And honestly, can you blame them? Relieved face. The great social isolation debate: lazy recluse or modern-day philosopher? Introduction: the social dilemma of being alone. Picture this: you're at home, wrapped in your favorite blanket burrito style, binge-watching a show you've already seen 3 times. Life is good. Then suddenly, bam, a text from a concerned friend. Hey, you okay? You haven't posted anything in days. Congratulations. You've been diagnosed with social withdrawal by the highly qualified board of nosy friends and family. In today's hyper-connected world, choosing solitude over socializing is often viewed with deep suspicion. Are they depressed? Did something bad happen? Do they secretly live in a cave? The assumption is that prolonged isolation is always a sign of distress. But hold on a second, what if some people like being alone? What if they see solitude not as a punishment but as a reward? So, let's get into it. Is social isolation a personal choice or a cry for help? Why some people choose the lone wolf life. 1. Past social trauma, the burnout is real. For some, the road to isolation was paved with terrible social experiences. Ever been ghosted? Betrayed? Stuck in an office with passive-aggressive coworkers who make every meeting feel like psychological warfare? Yeah, after a few rounds of that, solitude starts to look like a 5-star luxury resort. Many people withdraw because they've simply had enough of dealing with human drama. They've been manipulated, excluded, or disappointed so many times that the idea of voluntary seclusion seems way less exhausting. Think about it, if every time you touched a stove, you got burned, would you keep touching it? Exactly. 2. Society's expectations are overwhelming. Modern society comes with a pre-written script. Graduate. Get a job. Get married. Have kids. Work until your back gives out. Retire, if you make it that far. And if you deviate from this plan, people panic. Decide to stay single. Oh, don't worry, you'll find someone. No kids. You'll regret it when you're old. Prefer working remotely instead of dealing with office politics? But what about teamwork? Listen, some people just want to live life on their own terms without feeling like they're disappointing a panel of unseen judges. Solitude often provides the space to think, create, and, most importantly, not be bombarded with unsolicited life advice. 3. Introverts recharge alone. If extroverts are like solar panels, absorbing energy from social interactions, introverts are more like old-school Nokia phones, low maintenance, but they need time to recharge. Socializing drains them. A casual gathering might be fine, but extended exposure to small talk and forced enthusiasm? That's a full system shutdown waiting to happen. It's not that introverts hate people. They just prefer their own company. And honestly, given the choice between an awkward networking event and a quiet night with a book, they're choosing the book. Every single time. 4. The beauty of no social obligations. Being social comes with hidden responsibilities. Answering texts on time. Remembering birthdays. Attending social events you don't care about. Pretending to like Brenda's new boyfriend even though he's clearly a red flag factory. Some people opt out of this entirely because they simply don't have the bandwidth for performative socializing. They'd rather invest time in things that truly interest them, whether it's writing, gaming, painting, or just existing peacefully in their own little world. Because let's be real, drama-free solitude is priceless. Is social isolation a double-edged sword? Okay, we've covered the perks of isolation. Now let's get into the not-so-fun parts. 1. The echo chamber effect. When you spend too much time alone, your thoughts become your only company. And let's face it, sometimes our thoughts are not our best friends. That thing you said 5 years ago? Cringe. Maybe everyone secretly hates you. What if you're actually a terrible person? Without external input, it's easy to spiral into overthinking. That's why even the most introverted souls occasionally need social interaction, if only to keep their brains from turning into a psychological funhouse. 2. Loneliness versus solitude. Not everyone who isolates feels lonely, but sometimes the lines blur. You might enjoy being alone for weeks, no interruptions, no pressure, until suddenly, existential crisis. That's the tricky part. Solitude is great until it's not. Some people thrive in isolation, others find themselves longing for human connection, even if it's just arguing over which pizza topping is superior. Spoiler, it's pepperoni. The challenge is knowing when solitude is helping and when it's hurting. 3. The physical health risks of isolation. Research shows that long-term isolation can actually mess with your health. Chronic loneliness is linked to weakened immune systems, increased stress levels, higher risks of heart disease and stroke. The same health risks as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Seriously, what? Even the most hardcore hermits should take a break from isolation now and then, if not for emotional reasons, then at least for their physical well-being. So, what's the solution? Like anything in life, balance is key. You don't have to become a full-blown social butterfly, but disappearing into your own world forever isn't great either. 1. Selective socializing. Instead of forcing yourself into unwanted interactions, choose quality over quantity. Hang out with people who respect your need for space. Keep a few solid friendships rather than a large, energy-draining social circle. Participate in casual, low-maintenance interactions, like chatting with the barista or commenting on a meme. 2. Finding your social sweet spot. Some people need more interaction, some need less. The goal is to find what works for you. If socializing 3 times a week makes you happy, great. If once a month is more your speed, that's also fine. If your ideal interaction is sending a single emoji reaction to a group chat and calling it a day, power to you. You do not need to justify your social preferences to anyone. 3. Remember, there's no right way to live. People love to act like there's one universal formula for happiness. Some people find joy in big gatherings. Others find it in a quiet room with a cat and a good book. Both are valid. The key is figuring out whether your isolation is serving you or holding you back. If it brings peace, own it. If it's making you miserable, maybe step outside and remind yourself that the world still exists. Final thoughts: embrace the hermit life, but keep the door open. The stigma around social isolation is ridiculous. Some people recharge by being alone. Some people prefer quiet lives. Some people just really don't want to go to another pointless brunch. And guess what? That's okay. Just make sure that your solitude is intentional rather than a default setting. Stay connected in ways that feel right for you, whether it's through deep conversations, online communities, or just waving at your neighbor every once in a while. At the end of the day, your life, your rules. And if anyone asks why you're always at home, just tell them. Because I like it. And because people are exhausting. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the latest videos. Thank you for your support.